This is bad. San Francisco landlords are literally going broke. Now, before the pandemic, before San Francisco was literally a crap hole, San Francisco's vacancy rates were like less than 1%. In fact, in San Francisco, if you got to get the opportunity to get a good office building or get the opportunity to build a complex of offices, retail stores, or residential buildings, you're going to be making a lot of money. In fact, San Francisco real estate in the past was considered extremely safe because who doesn't like tech, right? Tech is only going to expand. And they're going to expand in San Francisco. Back in the old days, if you want to start a big tech company and if you want connections, you have to move to San Francisco. The Bay Area was the best place to get connections and to be in the tech scene. But now with San Francisco conditions being looking like this constantly, with constant burglaries, constant car thefts, shoplifting, intensive violent crime, of course nobody wants to live here. I mean, this city went from an S-tier city, well known around the world, to a city it's avoided by rich people. Rich people are leaving. They're bringing their billions out of San Francisco. And now the intense crime in the city is going to be destroying the multifamily landlords. Now, we're not even talking about the super big landlord. We're just talking about your mom and pop landlords, right? Guys who have like a building and they rent out the top floor and the bottom floor. That's it. Some have like a townhouse, some have like a couple condos, and they're just renting it out. The small landlords are absolutely getting decimated right now. Not only can they find anyone to rent these apartments, but they can't even sell these apartments. They can't even sell these buildings. And if they do, they're selling for a fat loss. Smaller foreclosures have absolutely spiked up in the Bay Area, especially places like Oakland, San Jose, and San Francisco. Nobody wants these buildings. These buildings are absolutely trashed. They are garbage, right? And if you look at these buildings here, we're seeing a lot of these multifamily landlords, big and small, receiving more phone calls than ever before. San Francisco apartments already have the highest delinquency rates in the state at 7.6%. And also, 1/3 of the city's multifamily buildings are in the commercial real estate data. You know, they're pretty much being told you're in trouble, right? Not to mention, not just 1/3 of these multifamily properties might go default, but also 70% of the office towers in San Francisco are at a fat loss. We're already seeing huge hotels with $800 million loans being defaulted. You're seeing the biggest hotel in San Francisco, Westview Mall, almost $600 million defaulted. And those are the big guys. And there's plenty of hundreds of smaller guys that defaulted on $800,000 or $1 million or $2 million. And those are adding up pretty quickly as well. Even whole entire skyscrapers in San Francisco are feeling the heat. So Nema, which is one of the most luxurious towers in San Francisco, it's right next to the X headquarters or Twitter. It's now being completely empty, and they may default on a $400 to $500 million loan. They're saying that they can't even break even on the building. Like, they can't even pay like the doorman, they can't even pay the property tax. Like, it's pretty bad. I mean, these buildings are usually the ones that easily get rented out first. I mean, this is a tech city, right? So obviously you have a lot of people living here. But now with so many people leaving and a loss of 150,000 office workers in San Francisco, you kind of get the idea. This place is probably not the place to hang out. It's getting worse by the day, and it's never going to recover. And these luxury San Francisco apartment complexes, they're going to fall one by one, okay? I mean, it's terrible. Like, these are hundreds of millions of dollars of people's investment money going down the drain. And remember, there's already several skyscraper construction projects already being halted. And it's pretty simple to fix all of this, but the city just doesn't really want to fix it. They just keep delaying everything all the time. People are just tired of the whole crime situation. Not to mention, the laws are super lax in San Francisco that pretty much encourage criminals to just move to San Francisco and just go on robbery sprees. I mean, we've seen people go on like robbery sprees of like hitting 15 stores in like a single week. It's absurd. And they finally get caught and then they get let out. I mean, this is San Francisco for you guys. There is no arrest. Okay, not to mention drug use is very common on the streets. And also people just smoking crack and fentanyl on the streets all the time. You're also seeing a lot of violence, a lot of robberies, and a ton of shoplifting. No wonder businesses can't survive on this environment. Nobody wants to live here, okay? And big companies, they're not going to say anything. They're afraid of getting canceled. They just leave quietly. Check this out, okay? Somebody apparently Woman steals purse from luxury store inside a Westview Mall, immediately caught, then released. No wonder Nordstrom is closing down, okay? Get caught, just get released. That's how it is. Absolutely crazy. You just have crazy amounts of shoplifting all the time. I mean, at this point, there's just fentanyl. People doing fentanyl all the time. Look at this. Like, there's just tents. People high all the time. It's not a safe environment to open a business. Imagine you own that building. How would you feel, right? You're probably not making any money on rent. There's not a single renter in the world that's going to rent your building. Well, what if you own that building right across the street? Yeah, business is going to be affected majorly. So this is what it looks like, right? This is what San Francisco looks like, and this is why they're saying crime could? No, crime is definitely contributing to the defaults of the San Francisco landlords. And here's the thing, it's pretty simple. Just pull what San Diego did, clean up the streets, make all this stuff illegal on the sidewalk, and have designated areas in the city where you can allow tents and other crazy stuff to happen. And the thing about San Diego is they pretty much cleaned up the streets. Business and tourism is at an all-time high, and they're actually helping out their homeless in the designated areas. San Francisco, on the other hand, is now going broke. Okay, they're going broke, they don't have money, and they don't have money to help the homeless or people in drugs, and not to mention the business owners are leaving as well. Look at the retail space. All of the retail space on the first floor is completely empty. There's not a single business owner who wants to put their store in front of this kind of scenery. It's getting worse. And you think it's a Nintendo district. No, it's not. It's spreading out. If you walk right next to the X headquarters, it just looks like some apocalyptic third world stuff. It's crazy to see San Francisco in this situation. I mean, look at this fentanyl situation. This is actually right next to Twitter. Can you imagine that? This is right next to Nema, the luxury skyscraper that might default pretty soon. And I can't imagine paying like $3,000 a month for rent, and I walk out and this is what I see. I just can't imagine that. It's terrible, right? And I don't think San Francisco will change anytime soon. This is why so many of these luxury retail stores are leaving in droves. Even Wells Fargo is pretty mad about the whole situation. Wells Fargo is like, screw it, we're just going to take a $60 million loss on a 13-story skyscraper. We're done with the city. We don't want to be here anymore. And crime is already contributing to some of the biggest and fattest defaults in the San Francisco multifamily landlord business. And will these defaults slow down? I don't think so. It's a domino effect. One defaults, two defaults, and then a wave of defaults, and they will probably want to sell it. There's still buyers in San Francisco real estate, but they're asking for like 50 to 75% off. And a lot of these major projects and a lot of these landlords that just finished these buildings, they have massive loans in the hundreds of millions of dollars. At that point, they all say the same thing. If the debt and the mortgage itself is worth so much more than the building, they're just going to default and give it back to the lender. And a lot of these regional banks are also getting hit. Scary stuff. Who knows? Regional banks could be having another massive failure coming soon. And that is not good at all. Be careful with the market, guys.